Hey everybody, happy Monday. So I'm sure that you guys have all gotten it in one time or another. A client comes in and they go, "Oh no, I don't want anything crazy, just something simple, just French." Just French. So I think the industry has done a lot of work to normalize the fact that French is nail art. It's not something that we just throw down, right? And there are a lot of different techniques and a lot of different products that go into creating a really beautiful, perfect French that isn't just slapdash. Now, we did recently get a question in the comment section asking for us to focus on a French manicure using Kokoist products. We're looking for good pigmentation, high quality control, really beautiful crisp application, and not too thick either. So I'm going to show you the Kokoist method on how to achieve the perfect French every time. And it may not be what you think. For the purposes of today's demonstration, I'm going to be using Peanut Butter Toffee E173S, very popular color. Bluey White is going to be our French tip color. This stuff is amazing. We are going to have our long liner brush handy, but for the most part, we are going to be using our angular brush. Let me show you what I mean. All right, so to get us started off here, I did just go in with 2 coats of Peanut Butter Toffee E173S. It's a beautiful sheer nude. And I applied 2 coats just to give myself a little bit more color coverage so you guys can see what I'm doing. And I applied it using my round brush, which I failed to talk about in the intro video, but this is what I typically use when I'm painting with potted gels. So once we have that done, if you wish to wipe off the inhibition layer to give yourself a less sticky surface, you're more than welcome to. I do not do that when I'm doing this French method because I feel like the slip layer here gives me a little bit more fluid motion when I'm going in with my brushes. So let's talk about our tip. We're going to be using Bluey White. This is what I always use for my classic Frenches. It is a super, super bright, heavily pigmented, very high viscosity white. It's called Bluey White. It has a little bit of a blue tinge to it, but when you apply it onto the nail, you don't see the blue tinge. It just reads as a super crisp white. We're going to be applying our French tip with an angular brush. This is the regular angular brush. We have 3 different sizes. This is the classic kind of medium size, and it's very skinny right at the tip and very sharp at an angle like this. When people originally see me applying this method, I always ask how they think I'm going to do it. And I get a lot of people saying that they think I'm going to be coming in like this on an angle, using the angle to kind of create that smile line, right? But we're looking at a straight angle here. We don't have a curve to this line at all. So it's not going to give us that nice smooth smile line curve. So instead, I refer to this as kind of when we're looking at the brush, the long side of your brush. So this end here, consider that like your liner brush and pretend like you're using your liner brush to line out that smile line. So we're not holding the brush like this. We're not holding it flat to the nail. We're going to be holding it like this, perpendicular. And we're basically going to be pretending that we're using that long side of our brush as a liner and creating our French tip like this. I'm going in with nothing on my brush so you can kind of see the motion a little bit more. And then you're going to come in from the other side and do the same thing. And we're going to meet each other right in the middle. This is a really easy way to create that smile line while at the same time filling in the rest of the tip. So we're using every part of the brush here. Now, when you're grabbing your white and applying it to your brush, you want to scoop in and pull out so you have a nice amount of white on your brush. But we're not going to be going straight in with this. That's going to give us a really bulky application. We're going to come to our palette. We are going to work that white into the brush. We don't want a lot of product on the brush. This application method, we're going to be doing 2 passes on each French tip. So the first pass, the focus is going to be on creating that perfect smile line, okay? The additional pigment that we are dispensing onto the tip of the nail is just gravy, baby. It's just kind of doing double duty for us. So you can see my brush is worked in. That tip is sharp, okay? You do not want a lot of product on your brush. You want your tip to be very, very skinny, very pointy, and ready to create a nice, crisp line. So back to our nail here. If you want, you can use that long end of your brush to create a little kind of planning dot right at the center of your nail. So now when we're coming in from the side in and from the side in, we're going to have something to aim for. I would recommend applying this dot a little south of where you want your tip to kind of end up. Because if you go up too high and then you have to overcorrect or overcompensate, you're going to end up with a thicker French tip than you want. So I'm tilting my nail this way so you can see a little bit better. Getting my brush ready. We're going to start with mainly the very, very tip of the brush, make connection with the sidewall, and then slowly swoop inwards. It's better to start slow, start small, and then if you want to bring it up a little higher, you can kind of reapproach. And you see how this is already creating our French tip for us? There's nothing wrong with going slow. I'd rather go a little slower with my pass and make sure I'm getting a nice smooth line until I come up and I meet that planning dot here. So that's my pass one. So I reloaded my brush a little bit, just kind of like grabbed a little bit more white off of what I have on my palette, making sure again I have that sharp, sharp edge. So really kind of pressing. And on this side, you want to just kind of double check and see where you started your smile line over here and mimic that on the other side. And we're going to go perpendicular to the nail and slowly swoop downwards. Now already that's looking pretty good. It's not quite perfect, but we're almost there. There's always going to be this kind of center area where you hit your planning dot that it might be a little bit shaky. You can try to smooth it out a little bit if you want to with your angular brush. Until you're happy. You want to make sure your sides look nice and even and that your curve is centered. And check out what's happened here. The tip has gotten filled in a little bit, but that color is sparse. It's not perfect. I'm not worrying about that right now. I am focusing on my smile line. So going in with my long liner brush now, this is like my favorite brush. I use this for almost everything. Again, so that it is nice and sharp. I want a good point here. And this is where we're going to nitpick. And we're going to make sure that our French line is perfect. Where those two swooping connections have happened, make sure you have a nice smooth curve. And this is also where I'll come up here to my sidewall connections and make sure that that looks really nice and flawless as well. I brought that other side up a little bit higher just to make sure it was super smooth. So I'm doing the same thing on my other side. This is all about symmetry. Now, when your smile line is looking nice and even, you have good, crisp curve, don't worry about the French tip not looking completely pigmented yet. We're going to go ahead and cure this for 30 seconds. While that's curing, I'm going to go back and load this brush up with a little bit more bluey white. So now that that is cured and solidified, this is where we're going in, and we're going to be parallel with the nail. We're going to work alongside the brush. We're going to use the paddle of our angular brush to just come up very close to the smile line and pull down. Close to the smile line, pull down. You don't want to go right to the smile line because we don't want to ruin all that nice work we did with our first pass. And this is going to fill in our French tip. Now be mindful of your placement with the brush as well. When we are working on the left side, you want the long side of your angular brush to go towards the sidewall. When we're working on the right side of the nail, we want to flip our tip of our brush over. So again, that long side is toward the sidewall. Getting very close to the smile line, but not right on it, just right beside it. So once you get full color there, this is where you do need to trust the process a little bit because we've gone from side to side and from top to bottom with our first and our second pass. There's going to be a little bit of texture that will be visible within that white. Don't worry about that because the next step is going to be curing this and going over with our ultra glossy top coat to smooth everything over. Smoothing it over is going to fill in any little ridges and bumps so that we're going to get a really nice smooth French tip. What we're seeing right now is shadow. And our last step, as always, is sealing. We're going to seal with our ultra glossy top coat. This is a beautiful medium viscosity top coat, which means if there is any texture left over from our French application, it's going to kind of fill in those fine lines and ridges for us a little bit and help to float over everything just to really smooth it out. Now that's looking pretty stunning. If you do get a little bit of a bump at that French smile line. Say, for example, you didn't just do a white, maybe you did a neon yellow, or you did something that doesn't have as much pigmentation and you need to cover any kind of texture. You can take a bead of your ultra glossy top coat, not a whole lot, just enough so that you have a little wealth of gel at the end of your brush. Dispense it at the apex and just wiggle it downwards, right down the center, and let it settle until you see that really perfect smooth reflection, those beautiful light lines, and then you can go ahead and cure your French. As an added bonus here, this is our classic angular brush, but if you're working on short nails, we do also have the small angular brush, so you can get a smaller French tip. We do also have the large angular brush if you are working with very long nails. This is great to have as an option, so you can get those Frenches down a little faster. So there you go, a nice flawless French tip. Now, this is a little bit of a different application method, I know, but once you get the hang of it, you really can get a French down super quickly, super uniform, and really, really beautifully. And that high viscosity bluey white, that heavy pigment, bright, bright white, really helps you get this French tip down in a way that is thin and easy to encapsulate so you don't get that annoying little bumpy line right at your smile line. So there you go. That's how I would use Kokoist products to create the perfect French manicure. As always, if you guys have any questions whatsoever, we have our cute little comment section right down below. Feel free to drop your questions in there. We'll do our very best to get back to you as quickly as possible. Thank you for tuning in. Stay busy, stay inspired, and we'll see you right back here in 7 days for another episode of Monday Masters. Take care.